Big Kel
Big Kel
and Kahuna
and Kahuna
podcast.
podcast. Mwah. For sure.
Welcome to episode 13.
Lucky
13.
Lucky 13.
Of Big Kel.
And Kahuna.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Alec.
All right, then we'll go ahead. So let's...
We've done this 13 times, and I always screw up the introduction, you know?
That's cool. So let's recap from last time. We got some decent comments.
Yeah.
And some nice likes. It looks as if we do better on F1 and anything involving TDS.
I think we did good on F1 was because I made a few mistakes on the tracks I named, which caused people to get angry at me, and that makes you get a lot of views, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it works. All right, so we got nothing from the recap, so we will go right in.
Oh, I have something for the recap.
What's that?
No one commented on the podcast episode, so no one gets a book.
Oh. All right, well, the offer's still out there, and we'll just go forward. Just as the offer that we're looking for producers, so anybody wants to be a producer, let us know.
Yeah, come hang out in our basement. I promise you it's not seedy.
Yeah, of course, this is free, so maybe we'll give you a $25 gift card or something.
We'll give him a gift card to, like, Chili's.
Right. And before we start, we have these Little Saints drinks. They're a seltzer, non-alcoholic, alcohol-free, so we'll give it a shot, see how it works. It's supposed to be infused with lion's mane. So we'll let you know if 45 minutes from now they kick in, you'll notice how they work. I actually had one yesterday.
It just says mushroom extract.
Yeah, after we went golfing, and I quite enjoyed it. So, Little Saints.
We could touch on golf briefly.
Yeah, hold on a second. I was trying to do a commercial, see if we get a free.
Okay, well then let's start
supply.
now, so you can do a nice
So,
short.
Little Saints, we would love you to sponsor us. I've already bought a month's worth, but if you want to give us some more, we'd appreciate it.
I love Little St. James. I mean Little Saints.
They're good. All right, so first round of golf, we kind of sucked, but we ended up doing okay.
We did surprisingly better than I thought.
Yeah, 91, 94, not
I
too
only
bad.
threw one club. The starter was making fun of me because it was about 40 degrees
41 degrees
in the morning,
when we
and I was just wearing a golf shirt, and he came up to me and said, "You better have a jacket." And I go, "Man, I lived in Canada. I'm fine." And then when we went around for the turn to get hot dogs and some water, he says, "I was telling people about you."
Yeah.
So I must have imprinted quite the memory on that man for him to be telling random people about me.
But I enjoyed the round for the main reason, first round out. The second reason, we were in and out of there in like 3 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah. We didn't lose too many balls either.
With a 10, 15-minute stop on the turn to go buy coffee and hot dogs and water.
What was crazy is, I was talking to you about this. They had the bomb hot sauce, which is number 8 in the Hot Ones lineup, and the bartenders,
scale or something.
The Scoville heat
unit
is the scale. But the bartender was saying, "Yeah, I get unsuspecting people to like dip a toothpick in it and taste it, and then makes them drink more." Well, okay.
Yeah, perfect way to get some additional sales.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, the most interesting thing this week so far, there's a whole bunch. We're going to go through current affairs, but we will start with what we were watching this morning.
The most interesting
Did you watch that live?
The most interesting thing, bar none, was the World Tetris Championship. No.
Look, we were just watching the TV while we were getting ready to come down here, and we were watching the Ocho, and they had the World Tetris Championship. And these kids are like 12 to 15, and they're wizards. Hand-eye coordination. I'll give them credit for that.
And we were saying the military needs to get these guys and turn them into drone pilots.
They'd be great drone pilots. They move quick, they think fast, and they know what they're doing. All right, the big thing in F1 was the first qualifying. This was for Melbourne, was this morning at 1 a.m. And what'd you get out of it? My impression, aside from McLaren going 1 and 2, which is fantastic because they're my team. Williams went 4 and 10, and Sainz came in 10, but he screwed up.
Yeah, so he had to abort a lap for some reason. But the fact that 2 Williams were in the top 10, 4 and 9. Because it was 9. He was 9th.
He was 9?
Yeah.
I'll challenge anybody who can tell us in the comments the last time Williams had 2 drivers in the top 10 for
Shoot,
qualifying.
It's got to be the early 2000s.
It's got to be. It's got to be a couple decades, I would think.
But what really interested me, and I think this is going to be a persistent issue for the guy, I think Liam Lawson has a tough season ahead of him. He can't wrangle that Red Bull.
Well, he's a rookie driver in a powerful
No, he's
car.
not. He's not a rookie.
He's
He
on a
used to
rookie-
be on.
last year, right?
Last year he was on whatever they used to call the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls.
Oh, okay. Well, it looked like he was a rookie driver,
Yeah.
this morning. He didn't do too well.
It's interesting that 8 people out of those 20-year-old rookies.
Yeah, and they were all in the bottom. Even Alonso didn't even qualify in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. But Ferrari got 2 in, McLaren got 2 in, Mercedes got 1 in,
You say Ferrari funny.
Ferrari. Williams got 2 in. Shit, I forgot who the what is it? The Cash App, Visa Cash App Racing Bulls got 1 in.
Sonoda.
Sonoda and was it Ocon? Or no, Gasly got in that pink car.
Alpine.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. The fact that Max Verstappen qualified 4/10 off of
That's a
Norris's
lot.
pace is going to be questionable.
Yeah.
You can never put him out of.
Oh no, he's the best
contention,
driver.
though.
He's the best driver for sure.
And we were talking about Oscar Piastri, how he's akin to Nico Rosberg in the sense that he always stays within the top 5, and when someone makes a mistake, he capitalizes on it.
So it'll be interesting. What time's the race go off?
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Okay. I'll
This,
have to
this
watch
shit
that
is
on.
kicking in. This is weird.
Yeah, and it works, huh?
Yeah,
It's
strange.
supposed to calm you and put you in a mellow state. So it actually works. All right, listen, we're going to go through current affairs real quick. I'll start. What are we? 6 weeks into the president?
What do we notice at the
Number
grocery store?
47, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. And I thought it was funny that the Democrats for the first 2 weeks were bitching and whining about the cost of eggs, but they didn't say that Biden killed over 500,000 chickens.
Which is interesting to me because most liberals are vegans. So why do they even care about eggs?
Well, yeah, because they represent the constituency and it was an issue. But it was another red herring. Egg prices are already down. They'll continue to go down.
They equalized back to the price of before Trump.
Yeah, well before
I saw a
Trump.
graph. It spiked up and then now
Yep.
it's
So another red
online.
herring for our friends. The funniest thing I saw this week was Steve Bannon was on the podcast with Governor Newsom. And I don't know what Newsom was doing, but this hand gesture nonsense was funny.
I watched Tim Dillon comment on that because Tim Dillon was on a podcast with Steve Bannon
Yeah.
a week or 2 prior, and he goes, "My episode was better." And he listens to the intro music. He said, "Who greenlit this intro music for Gavin Newsom's podcast?" And then Gavin just says, "Hey, Steve Bannon, thanks for coming on. Can we just get some background on your history?" And Tim Dillon goes, "All right, stop, cut it. My episode's better."
Yeah. Well,
And then goes back to making fun of Meghan Markle.
the funniest thing I thought, aside from him playing around with his hands, I was watching Gutfeld last night because I couldn't sleep,
Uh-huh.
and Tyrus was on there, and he was basically saying, "Look, this is what it looks like to me," because they were trying to figure out what he's doing and all his gestures.
Uh-huh.
And Tyrus goes, "I think he's doing sign language for a deaf prostitute because he was doing this, and that was funny. That was pretty good."
Tyrus is pretty good. I think doesn't he have 5 albums?
Oh, I have no idea.
Specials or whatever. He's a
I-
pretty prolific comedian, or at least was.
Tyrus not a comedian, is he?
Yeah.
He was the wrestler.
I think he was also a comedian.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to meet the guy. All right,
That's a big hulking dude, man.
he's a big fella.
I know the Dutch Giant's
he's-
probably
the
the
Dutch
biggest
Giant,
because he
yeah.
dwarfs Alan Richardson, but that Tyrus guy is a big guy.
Yeah, he's actually slimmed down from when he used to wrestle, or he
Ozempic.
was a
It's
bodyguard.
always Ozempic.
Well, I'm not sure if he did that or not, but he's in shape. All right, so we were going to do a section dedicated each week to Trump derangement syndrome, which is now actually morphed in a second category, to EDS or Elon derangement syndrome.
Because you
And then-
mentioned it last week.
And then we'll also talk about Karens.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it last week. This stuff just rolls off of Trump's back, so now they have to go after Elon.
Do you think he cares?
No, but I find it funny that liberals are torching Teslas and putting swastikas on them and also running effectively migrants out of their jobs.
Yeah, listen.
The party of peace is not being very peaceful.
And this is the foolishness that goes on in this. Most of these Karens, now I don't know what a male Karen is. We have to come up with a name.
A Chad?
But
No, can't be a Chad.
This is our perspective. In the past, I'll give you about 5% on either end of the political spectrum were what you
wackadoos.
wackadoos, without a doubt. However, the 5% on the right is still there, but the left has morphed into about 20, 25%.
I know the bell curve is kind of shifted.
It's crazy. The foolishness. And most of this nonsense with these protests or these mobs or what they're doing at Tesla, I'm sorry to say, people, they're a bunch of white folks that are my age doing foolishness like this. I don't know what happened.
It's always white women.
Well, there's a lot of dudes.
I saw a video of a guy.
Unstable. Listen, I think those people are unstable, that they can't
No,
control their
absolutely not.
emotions enough to have a normal dialect and discussion. That's a lost art. We have lost this in America. When I was younger, you could adamantly disagree with somebody and have a peaceful conversation and bring up your points, and nobody goes, I hate you, you're a racist, you're
It always turns
Islamophobe, you're-"
personal now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I saw a video of a guy going to counter protest one of the protests on a Tesla dealership. And he showed up wearing a Doge shirt saying that he worked for Doge. And this one protester like slapped him in the face and slapped his head off or his hat
Well,
off.
hopefully they arrest him for assault and battery.
But this dude was a purple belt, so he just took him to the ground with a sumo throw and then just got on top of him and put him in a triangle headlock until he calmed down.
But this nonsense has got to stop. We talked about it last week about the parental separation.
It's never going to stop.
This is foolishness, people. I don't know what happened to civility. You know, there's two things that earmark humans different than the rest of the animal kingdom. One is we can have civility and practice that, right? The other one is, unfortunately, on the negative spectrum, is that we're the only ones that purposefully torment or torture or harass people. Now, you might say in the animal kingdom, lions and hyenas do that to, but that's different. That's
Bonobos and some
survival.
apes do that.
But that's survival in the jungle and what they do, and they're being aggressive to mark their territory or something. This kind of nonsense that's going on, this is foolishness. I'm not sure what happened. So,
I think all these ideas used to be fringe, right? I think the internet brings out the worst in people in the sense that they can find a community of people with similar distasteful views and become emboldened.
But most of these troglodytes are in their parents' basement, and they're anonymous and they do all that goofy stuff.
Dang it, I wanted to say troglodyte first on the podcast.
Oh, there you go.
I'll beat you to it. These homunculi now.
Whatever that is. All right, so we're talking about the CR. The CR passed today for the Senate, 54-46. It's just a continuing resolution. It doesn't raise the spend. I find it ironic and it's comical what they were showing on the news, how the Democrats for the last 4 years are saying CRs are bad, they'll hurt the people, they'll hurt the economy, they hurt the average American, yet every single one of them is lining up to have the CR.
Didn't Chuck Schumer this time vote against his party?
He did. And you know what? As much as I gave Mr. Schumer, Senator Schumer shit.
Now you're being cordial.
No.
Chuck, come in our basement.
No, because he made those goofy comments about what it was, Corona and guacamole and stuff for the Super Bowl. So you know they were pandering. But he actually took the right position that they have to work together and they can't have a destructive nature. And the fact that knucklehead AOC and those people say they want to primary Chuck Schumer, that'd be the biggest mistake because that guy still got some juice.
Well, they're
Pelosi
trying to go
doesn't
after
have juice.
Newsom, too.
Schumer has juice.
Yeah. Pelosi just has funds.
But see, that's the thing. They turn on their own when you get out of line, and their line is so far is detrimental. So
They're widowmakers.
yeah, it's terrible. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about and the rest of the Democrats with this virtue signaling stuff and all these protests and what they have to do. It's become comical. It was almost as bad as that choose your fighter nonsense from the last week.
I heard it. I never watched that, but the fact that they were trying to do an homage to Mortal Kombat pissed me off because that's a good game and they shouldn't ruin its legacy.
Yeah, I still think we said it last time that guy Johnny from the Waters World should go down to Al Green's district and interview
Jesse
his
Waters?
people. Yeah, Jesse Waters. There's a guy in there, Johnny, who goes out in the street and does interviews.
Oh.
He should also go to that Bernie Sanders district. He should also go. There's this female African American representative for Congress who is saying some weird stuff.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of these people's constituents support them.
Well, we'll find out. Well, they support him enough because they elected him. But we'll see.
There needs to be term limits on the House and Senate.
But Jesse Waters, send Johnny out of New York City and let him go into some of these districts and talk to people. This nonsense with the Teslas is ridiculous what they're doing. I can't believe it.
It is also, though, equally ridiculous that Trump was doing that effectively a commercial for that red Tesla in front of the White House.
Yeah, but you know what? It neutralizes the nonsense on the other side.
Like, wow, I've never seen a car like this. It's all computers.
Yeah, but you know, you got to do
He is
something to
76
level.
years
You got to
old,
do
so.
something to level the playing field. Oh, he says they won't let him drive because they can't protect him.
Yeah, I don't think the Secret Service would let him drive.
No, but
let alone operate a self-driving vehicle.
I'd rent out the Summit Point Raceway up here in West Virginia. It's an hour drive from D.C. He can helicopter in. They can put him on a track, and they're not going to put the president on the racetrack. Never mind.
In a
Forget
car that goes 0 to 60
Yeah.
in 2 seconds? No.
Forget that idea. All right, the next thing this is it. You guys need to get educated on what tariffs are. If you listen to the Democrats, tariffs are going to ruin the economy, but you got to pay attention to the tariffs that have been placed on us.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, 100% in Japan for rice?
Yeah.
It starts at 7% for us, and our farmers sending milk to Canada, but then it escalates to 241%. I think cheese is up around 258%. So
we're being bent over.
Our farmers have been getting killed by Canada. So, before you worry about a 25%, tariff on them, look at what they're doing. They're doing 100, 200, near 300% tariffs on the farmers. It's ridiculous.
I do support the idea of reciprocal tariffs because I think if you elevate your tariff rate to theirs, and for some of these high ones, especially the ones you mentioned, they'll lower their tariffs.
Yeah, so this is what people don't understand. I know you'll talk to it at the end with your book, but we won't talk about the title of the book. But Trump is a master negotiator. And his intent is to get an equal tariff rate or get it reciprocal or get it so no one's taking advantage. The other part, and he's absolutely correct, NATO is there to protect Europe, yet 1/3 of Europe doesn't even contribute the minimum amount, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The other part is they slap us with all these tariffs, yet then rely on us to protect them.
Yeah.
What kind of nonsense is that?
It
Just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't
So
make
when
sense.
Trump says he's trying to balance everything and make it right and make it equitable, he's 100% correct. These people, primarily the Democrats going crazy, they can't get below the surface. Because if they did and they saw what this really does, they'd have a better understanding. But they're
And the
they're
people like
goofy.
your mom, they just have superficial understanding of this, and they just regurgitate the talking points they see on their TV shows.
CNN and MSNBC, yeah. And those guys are all sensationalists as well.
What does Trump call it? MSDNC?
Yeah. No, I forgot this fella's name, but there's a guy on MSNBC, older white guy with gray hair. He had to take a week off because he says he's at day 52 or day 60 of 100 days, and he needs to take a week off because he just can't
You're
handle.
just taking like a mental health break?
Take a mental health break for a week because he's so riled up with what Trump's doing. If I was MSNBC, I'd be like, don't come back.
Yeah.
He's a hate monger anyways.
Yeah, most of them are.
He just pushes nonsense.
But that's the problem with hypocrites, man. What they yell at somebody else about is what they do behind closed doors.
Absolutely. And then you saw how they pulled a couple $100 million off of the University of Maine because the government of Maine still won't reverse their stance on trans athletes and women's sports.
Dude, they're investigating close to 50 universities now.
They should. And that nonsense that's going on in Colombia is ridiculous. Listen, if you are
You're here on a student visa.
Oh, they actually caught a couple that I saw it this morning. They had cameras in Newark or JFK, and they picked up 2 people involved in that who were self-deporting before they got waxed. But listen, if you're a guest in this country, you're not to be agitating against the public good. And Secretary Marco Rubio is absolutely correct to revoke these visas and send the people back. And if they've done something criminal, take care of that, then send them back.
Didn't you say it did something with the South African ambassador?
The South African ambassador to the U.S. in a speech in South Africa yesterday or the day before said that Trump's a white supremacist, he's a Nazi, the government's doing this and everything else.
Which I think is rich coming from a white South African who was around during apartheid.
Yeah. Well, everybody learns, but to say that kind of hatred and spew that as a politician, Secretary Rubio did the right thing. He PNG'd the guy. He made him persona non grata and said, "You're not welcome here anymore. You're not allowed to come back."
I hope you enjoy South Africa, buddy.
Yep. And then we'll see when the prime minister calls. All right. One of the good things that's happening for us is Alexander Ovechkin is right now at 886 goals, chasing the great one, a record that people thought would not be broken, of Wayne Gretzky of 894 goals. So they project sometime in the next 3-4 weeks, he should potentially break it, probably in April. And I think that's fantastic. It's like trying, it was when they got Hank Aaron's home run record, right? When Barry Bonds came. It's the one I don't think is going to get caught is the consecutive games played by Cal Ripken. Was that 21-36 or something like that?
What sport did he play?
Cal Ripken, the shortstop for the Orioles.
Oh, I don't know.
But they thought the unbreakable record before that was Lou Gehrig's record of continuous games played, and he beat that. So I'm always a fan of when some of these records are out of reach. And I don't want to have anybody put in the comments that LeBron got the 50,000 points or 40,000 points?
You play more games a season
Dude,
nowadays.
he's been playing for 22 years. I listen to some knucklehead saying, well, Jordan didn't do it. Yeah, Jordan played 8 years less.
Yeah.
And if you look, I don't even think LeBron's good as Kobe personally.
No. Hell, I don't even think he's better than Larry Bird. That's probably controversial, but I think Larry Bird is better than LeBron.
I think if you look at, like, we talked about this before about special people, and you
Pistol
look at
Pete too.
You look at the 5 years and what they did. Pistol Pete was good. Bird was good. Barkley over his 5-year stint. Shaq over his was a monster. And you know what? People always sleep on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and how he changed the game. And Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, Dr. J, all
Magic
these
Jordan.
Jordan, they
Magic
say
Johnson?
is head
He's
and
the dude who
shoulders.
got AIDS.
Oh, Magic Johnson was great.
Yeah.
A 6'9" point guard. He was in my time watching that. I always rooted for the Lakers over the Celtics at the time because I didn't like the Celtics. And Showtime, James Worthy, Byron Scott, Cooper, Rambis, they were great. I loved it. Okay, so one more thing, and then we'll go to something funny. It's unfortunate this young girl who's missing in Dominican Republic. She's from the county we're in.
Yeah.
And
Mom actually works with her mom.
yeah, and if you look at the story, it's sad on how it turned out. But one thing I will tell everybody, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, when you go out somewhere, whether it's to a club or whether you're at a resort or something like that, you got to have a buddy system going.
Yeah.
Even
Especially
the
if you're
military,
a woman.
when the military puts you on R&R or Freedom for the weekend, they buddy you up.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And especially if you're a woman, you got to have a buddy system.
And especially if you're in a foreign country.
Yeah. And dudes should
Not
have...
a lot of people around the world like Americans.
Well, but I don't think it's about Americans in some locations.
It's just the vulnerable.
You're vulnerable when you're alone. And even fellas, you need a wingman because one of you should be sober enough that the other one doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And you got to protect each other. You got to have a buddy system.
Colombia, for example, there was a guy, Kick, it's like a live streaming site.
Yeah.
He was live streaming himself hanging out with these 2 Colombian girls. and they were sipping their drinks, and they were
they're robbing
having him drink it. So they drugged him, and then they took all his shit on a live stream.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, gentlemen they're quite gullible at times.
Yeah,
All right, now,
especially when you're thinking with the wrong head.
so let me set the story and you can tell it. Alec was recounting to me a friend of his and his inability on dating sites to find people to match with because he listed himself as right of center
Conservative,
or
Christian.
conservative Christian, and it was what three hits in like 3 months. And then tell him what he did and what's happened in the last 24 hours that he shared with you, because I find it indicative of what's happened to this culture.
Yeah, so he ran a little experiment. He kept everything identical on his profile.
But he just changed two
But
things,
all he
right?
did was change the fact that he is a liberal and he's spiritual. And at the top of his bio, he wrote Free Palestine. And within 6 hours, he had like 50 matches.
How is that possible?
It's indicative.
But what was the
of-
funniest thing he said, though?
He sent me a screenshot. He matched with this one girl, and I agree with him. She looked like Bill Cosby. So he
What was his comment, though?
he
Because I
replied
laughed
to
when
her.
you showed it to me.
He replied to her, "Holy shit, you look like Cosby. Skibbity bop, don't spike my soda pop."
But I find it ironic that this kind of nonsense, that he could get 3 in 3 months, and then he gets 50 in, 6 hours or something foolish like
Yeah,
that?
he's got over 50 now.
Unbelievable. I don't know what this world has come to. You got anything more on that?
No,
Well,
but-
you know what? Let's do an update
Guys
next week.
my age who virtue signal and masquerade as liberals, they do quite well with women.
Yeah, but not sustained.
No,
So,
no.
Yeah, so if you're looking at a relationship, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
Starting out with deception doesn't quite
Turns
work.
out it's easier to hook up with someone on Bumble if you pretend to be a liberal than it is to get a hooker.
Unbelievable.
And
So
cheaper.
we'll give you an update on how that social experiment's going, because I find it funny.
He told me he had to mute his notifications from Bumble because he was getting too many messages. He was slowing his phone down.
Unbelievable. All right, so listen, the book's doing okay. We've got over 150 between paperback and ebooks
Copies?
and Kindle sold.
Really?
Yeah. Now, the first 65 went on a promotional period and they were free.
Oh.
So we haven't
It's actually making money.
it's making money.
Wow.
It's making money. So with that, we'll go to 2 chapters in the book real quick. First chapter. Hey, hold on a second. How's that stuff working?
You know, I feel a little calm.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's nothing.
It's not overwhelming.
It's not outlandish. I do feel a little calming
Yeah,
effect. So.
not bad, huh?
Yeah.
So Little Saints.
Little St. James.
No, it's not St. James. Little
Negroni
Saints.
Spritz. Negroni.
But it's Little Saints, guys, and we'll let you see the can. It's actually pretty good. You gotta give it a shot.
Yes.
And to
They
be
have
honest
no
with you,
affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein.
it's not any more expensive than a good quality beer.
Where'd you
per
get
can.
that from? Amazon?
Internet.
Amazon.
No, I saw it in my Facebook feed, and I was like, I'll give it a shot.
You are the target audience for those ads. I wonder who's buying ads from products they see on Facebook. It's you.
It's not bad.
This one worked out.
And if you're trying to stop drinking and you're on a drinking challenge, or if you just don't want to drink anymore because of the negative effects that alcohol, remember, guys, alcohol is poison. You really shouldn't be doing it, but we'll give you a couple free ones. If you're trying to lose weight, you got to stop drinking beer. You got to stop drinking hard liquor and the wine. Now, the good substitution is tequila is the number one thing that you could drink.
Or vodka.
And then vodka, because they're the clear liquids
The
and the
double
way
or triple distilled
and the way they're
vodkas.
made. If you like wines, do yourself a favor and buy a Chilean wine, an Australian wine, or a European wine. Because as much as I don't want to say this because they're American, but the American wines are filled with glyphosate, which is basically Roundup. And that stuff gets in your body, and it's a forever chemical, and it takes you a long
Yeah.
term.
But
time
this
to
is
get out.
interesting, though. This is a good
This is
replacement.
a seltzer.
This is a good replacement to alcohol.
Yeah.
And I've always been the opinion you look kind of light in the loafers if you drink non-alcoholic beer. So you can just drink that instead.
There you could. All right, 2 chapters in the book real quick. Chapter 18, self-forgiveness. To be able to move forward in just about anything you need to do, you need to have a positive mentality, work forward, and move. You can't do that if you fill your head with negative self-talk and you don't forgive yourself and use it as a learning experiment to go forward.
Listen, if
you
convicts can do it, you can do it too.
yeah, listen, if you keep keep coming back and beating yourself up for the same thing, or you keep doing the same thing over and over again and without learning.
It's
That's
called
a
the
whole
definition of insanity.
yeah, that's a whole different issue, and you got to work on that. But work towards that because listen, your brain doesn't know anything between what happened and what you tell it happened. And most people get into this negative self-talk window. We talked about it last week, and they could be in there and nothing could get done.
Have you ever seen that image of two people on a bus? One's looking out to the horizon, the other one's looking at the rock wall. And the one looking to the horizon is happy, and the one looking at the rocks is sad. So it's kind of like that. It's all about your perspective.
Change your paradigm, change your perspective.
And if you have to do it, it's the same thing with, starting a new job in a business you're not comfortable in. Fake it till you make it. So just
it works.
gaslight yourself until you believe it.
There you go. The second chapter we're going to hit real quick is chapter 19. It's about discipline and regularity. So whether it's your sleep, which is the most important thing you can do for yourself, try to get to bed at the same time, wake at the same time, get your 8 hours sleep, do a little deep dive on sleep and understand that if you could get 3+ hours or try to get 50% of your sleep as deep sleep and REM sleep. Deep sleep repairs your body, REM sleep repairs your mind. And if you guys are suffering anxiety or you're anxious or you're depressed or whatever it is, get your sleep. But don't sleep for 12 hours.
Dude, I can tell I've been getting good REM sleep lately because I keep having dreams in a similar vein that, I'm late for an exam or, I have a paper due and I wake up and I go, I haven't been in school in years. Why am I thinking about this?
Look, this stuff is real. I don't know how many, I went for years without having dreams because my sleep was so broken and bad. And now I get dreams all the time.
That's another fun thing we could talk about, lucid dreaming. When I'm not real good at it. I can only really do it after I wake up and fall back asleep and I'm semi-conscious, but you can do a lot of fun stuff with lucid dreaming.
Well, I'm going to research it and I'll tell you about it, whether I buy that thing with the photo lights and the sound.
Yeah, tell the audience.
Well, I don't know enough about it. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared, but I'm just saying that'll help you with dreams and so forth. Okay, so we got anything else on the first half? Oh, yeah, you wanted to talk about, what is it, Joe Henrik and Son, Only Good Pod?
Joe Herrick, I think, but he's the guy who does that cooking stuff with his son, and he's always witty and makes those funny comments.
They're hilarious.
I really like that guy.
So what's his webcast or his podcast that people can look at?
His podcast is The Only Good Pod.
So take a look at that. You'll get a little kick out of it. He's sharp. His son's sharp, but he's really sharp. I would love. We mentioned him, I think, in episode 1, and his son. I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah, I don't know
He'd
if
be a funny guy.
I don't know if it's a skit, but the son always acts embarrassed. I don't know about you, but if that kid went to my school, I'd go up to him and say, "Dude, you have the coolest dad of all time. What are you?"
Well, he's
what are
very
you anxious
quick-witted,
about?
slapstick.
Yeah.
And even if they prepare that ahead of time, which I'm sure they do with some of the stuff, the fact that he can recall it and move it that quickly,
yeah,
it's a good chuckle. It's a good chuckle to watch.
Maybe we get a cameo from him. I think they're only like $50.
No, we'll find out.
Because the Matt Gaetz cameo really hasn't been playing too well.
No. Maybe we'll get him to do something. The new fellow. All right.
I want to get someone with a really thick accent,
Yeah, we can figure something out. All right. Is there anything else you want to cover before we go on the other side? Because we're going to be quick again.
In terms of discipline and regularity, everything seems insurmountable at the start. And I know I talked about the book Atomic Habits last week.
Yep.
But a routine and sticking to that routine makes things a whole lot easier. I know it doesn't seem glamorous to block out your day, but it really does help.
Yeah, I think if you get a good morning routine, I wake up, I walk, I cold plunge, whatever you do, cold shower, study, pray, eat, whatever it may be, just get on your normal routine because then you don't have to worry or think about those things.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I'm going to sound like a heretic or a charlatan because I don't do it myself, but two really good things are meditation and journaling.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes, though, and this is the challenge I'll give the youngsters your age and people even at my age. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to do anything. But what I would suggest is sit in a room, a dark room, no music, no phone, no TV, and just sit in silence.
Yep.
And practice your breathing and think.
There's too many stimuli nowadays.
Yeah. You just got to calm. We're at such a high level, and we're running so high, you got to get back down to baseline. And it shouldn't only be when you sleep, because most people go to sleep odd hours. They, they take sleeping pills, they do drugs or whatever, or alcohol, whatever it is to help sleep. You got to find a way to just calm yourself. And sitting in a dark room by yourself in total silence, a lot of people can't do that.
Last time I tried that, Bingus kept headbutting my door.
Well, I did that last night for about 25 minutes, and then I fell asleep and woke up at like 12:30 and screwed my sleep up. But it's my fault for doing it like at 9 o'clock at night. But that's a whole nother deal. Oh, before we move on, I'm really liking this season of Reacher.
Yeah, me too.
And it's about to come to a head next week, right?
Yeah, it's weird that she kissed him like that in the alley.
Yeah. I think that just plays for something towards the end. And there's a series your mom and I are watching.
Teresa, she's still alive.
Your mom and I are watching this new series on I guess it's Hulu, but I don't know, it's ABC or something. It's with Kathy Bates. Now, Kathy Bates came to fame in Misery. Remember that movie Misery, James Caan, where he's an author? It's a Stephen King book. He wrecks, he gets rescued, and she like hobbles him. Remember, she breaks his
oh yeah,
that was her. Remember how she's a great actress.
Yeah, she portrayed that really well.
But she's playing a series called Matlock, where she's pretending to be a person as a lawyer investigating a law firm who contributed to her daughter's death in the opioid crisis.
Speaking of that,
and it's an interesting show, and I'll give Kathy Bates credit. She's doing a very good show.
Do you know Stephen King admitted that he doesn't remember most of his early work because he was either blackout drunk or high on cocaine when he wrote everything?
Was that The Stand and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think he was.
Cujo.
I think he was high on coke for Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary. That's a good story. The movie's pretty good too.
Yeah.
The original one, not the remake's okay, but the original one's really good. And I like it.
It's good.
With John Boy Walton in there.
It's not really scary though. I don't know why people find that movie scary.
Yeah.
Blair Witch is definitely more scary than it.
Yeah, when Blair Witch came out, you had to be there because
that whole found footage.
Yeah.
Idea was pretty novel at the time.
I saw a clip on the internet the other day, and they said the difference between older kids and younger kids. There was, I guess, people your age, 25 to 30, and they were up in their apartment, and it was raining, and they're looking out the window, and there's some kid in a raincoat, a yellow raincoat,
and they're freaking out.
And he's walking towards the sewer where all the water's running in, and he's looking in there and stuff, and they're yelling, "Don't do it! Don't do it!" Which is an homage to Mr. Stephen King.
What's funny is that there are still people on Reddit who aren't informed and think that Blair Witch is real.
No.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding.
Yep, they still think. I know it's allegedly based off of a real story, but some people think it's not a found footage film, but it's real.
Goofballs.
And we let these people vote.
Yeah. There's some good movies that have been remade in the U.S. which were actually better in Japan. The Ring, Grunge.
They should remake some of Kurosawa's movies.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Well, they tried it with The Last Samurai and Tom Cruise. It didn't really work.
Well, no. You can't. It's really hard to copy a masterpiece.
Yeah, because Kurosawa captured lightning in a bottle multiple times.
He is an underrated director.
Yeah.
I think he's probably one of the top 3 or 4 ever. You got to watch his original movies. Now, they tried to do it with The Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner, which is the Seven Samurai, but set in the West.
Yeah. Because all those Western movies about cowboys are just complete ripoffs of samurai movies, effectively.
But the Seven Samurai, Kurosawa movie, black and white, subtitles, if you got time, that should definitely be on our movie list eventually. That was your uncle's one of his favorite movies because he saw it when he was in communication studies in university.
There was another good movie because the director who made Parasite. Some Korean guy.
That's a great movie too, right?
He was the one that directed that Mickey 18 or Mickey 17 movie I watched.
What's that?
The one I saw at the Alamo.
Oh, yeah. What was that about?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's about, they obviously make Mark Ruffalo's character act like Trump, but I went into it with an open mind. Earth is going on these planetary missions to colonize and gather resources.
Okay.
And one person on every ship is an expendable. So basically it's a clone movie. So basically, they have him go out and have exposure to radiation, and then they die.
Kind of like the engineers in the red sweater in Star Trek.
Yeah, and then
whenever that other person that wasn't a normal character came down, and they were always one of Scotty's people, you knew they were gonna die.
Yeah. And then they reprint his body, and he just does all the stuff that no one else does.
But it's worth seeing.
I was impressed by it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll rent it when it comes out.
But that director is really good. He's the same director who did Snowpiercer.
Okay.
The movie with Captain America.
Okay.
With the same actor that's Captain America.
Yeah.
The real Captain America, not this new guy who's anti-America.
Well, I don't know so much. He said stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's Disney. I heard their Snow White thing went right to retail.
It's a flop.
Right to rental.
But what's funny, too, is that
It used to be right to VHS, but now it's, they flopped it, right?
Gal Gadot doesn't have enough expression to play a over-the-top Disney villain. And the whole essence
She's a good Wonder Woman, though.
And then
she's been in some other good... she was in Fast and Furious, too, right?
Yeah, and then Peter Dinklage kind of kneecapped the movie, too, because he said there shouldn't be little people in it. So that's why there are no dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
How could you not have 7 dwarfs in Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs?
I don't know. But the whole impetus of that story, right, is that the queen is jealous of Snow White's beauty.
Yes.
And she's envious of it. It doesn't work with who they casted for Snow White.
Yeah.
But those two have been at each other's throats because, Gal Gadot is an Israeli.
Right.
And this Snow White person openly supports Palestine. So,
you guys need to do some research. I don't even want to bring that up, but there needs to be some research done by people. Study history.
Why can't you just not like either of them?
Well, look, all I want to tell people is study history, know both sides of the argument. Until you're intelligent enough to be able to articulate both sides of the argument,
You shouldn't be commenting
you
on
shouldn't
it.
be commenting because you look like a buffoon.
Yeah.
All your goofy friends might think you're a hero, but everybody who's outside of your little sphere of nonsense
see you
or
as
the
a
little
simpleton.
world you live in,
Yeah.
they think you're a buffoon. It's shameful. We said that last week. Shameful.
Yeah, I don't understand why all these people in college campuses are protesting these things that they're just now being
They're being
experienced
manipulated.
with. I mean, there were protests when I was at UVA, but it was, oh man, the day after Trump won in 2016.
Yeah, the snowflake tents, you said?
Yeah, so they canceled classes at UVA and they set up safe spaces so you could cry.
Didn't
So-
you have a snowflake T-shirt?
Don't be a snowflake or something.
Yeah.
But it was funny the day after. It was a little gloomy, a little overcast, a little bit of light drizzle. And everyone has their head hanging low. I saw this one girl whimpering. And I'm just skipping, having the time of my life. Everyone's looking
Well,
at
at
me
least
like I'm the crazy one.
At least that place where you got the the dumplings was probably had no line
Oh,
in it
yeah,
that day.
that place was amazing.
That
I
was
don't know
probably
the
the
name,
best
but
food.
that food truck.
That's the best food option at UVA, right?
Yeah. Best food truck.
They had a line every day, didn't
Yeah,
they?
you know that amphitheater? There was
Yeah.
always those guys who were the super crazy Christians that say if you're gay, you go to hell. So I would just eat my dumplings and watch and laugh as they insult people.
Yeah, well, that's the 5% on the right side,
Yeah.
So, okay. With that, we will go for our first top 5. This one will be easy. We will do our top 5 boxes of all time. You want to start? Because I think your 5th one's kind of interesting. There's a story behind it in a movie, right?
Yeah, so my 5th one is Henry Haft, and my 4th one is...
Tell it. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's start
Well, I
again.
have to say my 4th one, so my 5th one makes sense.
Okay.
So my 5th one is Henry Haft. My 4th one is Rocky Marciano. And what's cool about this Henry Haft character is he was one of the prisoners who the Nazis forced to fight.
Yeah, this is a good movie.
And I
too.
think he was undefeated in all the internment camps, and he ended up fighting
because the loser
Rocky
dies, right?
Marciano at one point.
Yeah, that was the horrific story about what they did in those camps. They would put these guys, the loser dies, and you fight to
It was
live.
blood sport.
And he made his way through.
Yeah, so Henry Haft is my 5th. Rocky Marciano is my 4th. I would have to say I don't really like the guy, and it's funny he can't read, but I think Floyd Mayweather is probably my 3rd. I got to go with Muhammad Ali is my second, which is probably sacrilegious to you, but I think Mike Tyson is my number one. I just like Mike Tyson.
No, I don't necessarily disagree.
It's one of the biggest necks I've ever seen on a human.
Look, in his 5-year time span, when I say 5 years, he was a beast. Nobody could figure him out. And then a bad woman, bad management, lack of discipline.
Well, you can't
not
blame him hitting that
consistency.
woman and going to jail on
No,
her.
no. I'm not talking about what put him to jail. He was married to Robin Givens, and she was a disaster for him. And she emasculated him on 2020. Whoever was his handlers, that's what caused Mike Tyson's downfall.
But that's such a
I
great...
love Mike and how he's reinvented
It's
himself.
such a great comeback story for him. Now he's just really nice and is always high on mushrooms.
I love to meet Mike Tyson and just hang out with him and have him hang out down
Yeah,
there.
and if you do meet Mike Tyson or you're on a plane with Mike Tyson, don't be like that asshole who was insulting Mike until he stood up and popped him in the head.
Oh, you deserve to get popped.
Yeah.
I don't ever,
We
I'll
don't condone
see-
violence, but some people deserve it.
I'll see famous people, but I'll never interrupt them.
Yeah, because when you were working at TSA, you said you met a bunch of wrestlers.
Oh, at Air Canada, I met Rocky. The Rock. I met his
The biggest
mom
shill
and
of the
his mom
industry.
and dad. He handed them off to my customer service director, and we gave him special treatment his parents through. I also told you I met Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Woo! And I was doing that, and him and I were doing that at the check-in counter. And the lady who was about his age, probably 50, 55 at the time, and never met Ric Flair, so I think he tried to hit on her.
Well,
But
he
that'd
had
be a
sex
good.
with over 1,000 women.
Well, I'm sure it's more than that. He'd be a good guy to hang out with. That guy had some kind of liver. I would have figured with all the drinks that he did. They said he drank not as much as Andre, because Andre. Do you ever hear that story about Jake the Snake Roberts say how was it Jake the Snake or was it?
I knew
Diamond
Andre.
Dallas?
Wouldn't Andre have a handle or a leader every night?
Yeah, somebody said that they were on a car ride with him that lasted like 4 hours. Famous wrestler.
Didn't he have like 40
No,
beers?
it was Jake the Snake. He said he had to stop twice. Jake was driving. He said he had like eight, 9 beers driving, and he had to stop twice to piss. And they said Andre over 4 hours drank 2 cases of beer, and didn't have to stop.
Jeez.
And he just kept yelling at him and said,
More beer. More beer.
My favorite Andre the Giant story, may he rest in peace, was when he shit himself in the hotel and he just left the dirty sheets out in the hallway.
"Did you ever hear the Big Show story about what happened to him?"
No.
He was on tour, I think, in Japan. So everything's a little bit smaller in Japan anyways.
Did he break a
for
toilet?
guys. Well, he said he was in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And the bathroom was probably... Have you ever seen that clip of him where he's like in the back of a bus? It was a part of a show. But he said he sits on the toilet. It's very small. He's a big guy. And he's like stretching when he has to go to the bathroom. He said he knocked down the walls on either side, and one of them was the wall into the hallway.
Someone was walking by. What the hell is this?
And in the clip,
Some nice little Japanese woman was like, oh!
yeah. So look up the Big Show, Paul.
That's funny.
But he was on a TV show one time, and he got stuck. He had to go to the bathroom on a bus. And he got stuck in there. He had to leave the door open when he was going to the bathroom. It's a funny scene. But
You said you met that Undertaker character, right? Once?
yeah, I met the Undertaker. I met Jaws.
Did you meet John Cena?
No, Jaws, the guy with the silver teeth from the James Bond movies.
Oh.
The guy from Moonraker.
Oh.
Yeah, I met Lynn Swan. I met Hulk Hogan. Met some good people. Jerry the King Lawler. Nobody was giving him any love. I saw Kurt Hennig one time. Whole bunch of Redskins. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. He's an oldie but goodie.
Well, you lucked out because you didn't meet Chris Benoit.
No. So the Crippler. All right, my top 5 boxers of all time, a little bit different than yours. My number 5 is marvelous Marvin Hagler. At the time, middleweight champ, beast. Beast. Mike Tyson, I have as number 4, which could be sacrilegious to people, but I think if Mike Tyson heard the list, he would agree.
Mm-hmm.
For me, number 3, because it was when I really got into boxing, was Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him win the gold medal in the Montreal Olympics and beat Wilfred Benitez to get his first title. I actually saw him beat marvelous Marvin Hagler in the middleweight after he beat Donnie Lalonde. For me, the number 2, and people might say this guy should be number 1, Sugar Ray Robinson. Do a deep dive
Sugar
on
Ray
him.
Robinson? Or
Sugar Ray Robinson fought in the 40s and the 50s. Hundreds upon hundreds of fights. They say he might have been the middleweight. It wasn't welterweight. I think it was middleweight. Maybe welterweight for a while. Best technically proficient fighter of all time. The man was smooth. And that's who Sugar Ray Leonard is named after. And for me, Ali's number 1. So again, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali. My top 5 boxers of all time.
And we got to give a couple honorable mentions because it feels sacrilegious to not.
Yeah, who's yours? I got 1.
Evander Holyfield. Who's the Gypsy King?
Oh, Jesus.
What's his name?
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury, the guy that rocked Devontae Wilds or
Wilder.
Wilder.
Yeah. For me, my honorable mention, and at his prime, he was great. But like every athlete, especially in boxing, you had someone's your kryptonite. And his kryptonite was a guy by the name of Aaron Pryor who beat the shit out of him twice. But before that, Alexis Arguello, for me, Nicaraguan fighter, Latino fighter, lightweight, smooth as can be. And what I love best about him, the guy wore long boxing shorts, and they were like blue velvet.
Like crushed velvet. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He was slippery smooth.
I gotta
a guy
give
like
one-
Oscar De La Hoya. You
Yeah.
seen him fight?
Yeah.
He's like
Shoot, how do we not
he's in-
mention
Canelo?
Canelo.
He's not done.
Yeah. Well, I got to give another honorable mention to George Foreman just because he's the oldest heavyweight champ.
Yeah. For that like two-year period of time is great, but then,
buddy, your George
then
Foreman grill is just a panini maker.
he used to make $5 million a month on those things.
I know.
And they weren't even going to get him to sign it, and he signed it, and he
Yeah.
took a percentage, and he became a millionaire for life just from that. So that's what we got. All right, now the next one I think will be funny. I'll go first. It is our top 5 cartoon characters of all time. I am going to go with an honorable mention to Bugs Bunny. Because Bugs Bunny is pretty good, no?
Okay.
I like the guys from South Park. You could pick any one of those guys from South Park. Cartman probably. Let's say 5. I go with Eric Cartman.
Okay.
4. I'll go with Peter Griffin.
Griffith?
Number 3. I'll go with Deputy Dog.
Yeah.
No, and you probably don't know that.
No.
Number 2. I'll go with Hong Kong Phooey. He's a janitor. He's a dog, but
I'm
he's
not
a
touching
janitor.
that one with a 10-foot pole.
And he turns into Hong Kong Phooey, superhero. And then number 1 for me, without a doubt, greatest cartoon character of all time is Fred Flintstone.
That's good.
How about you?
You got more dated ones. Mine are going to be...
Well, I got 30 years on you, though.
Yeah, so my number 5 is probably going to be Mr. Slave, Mr. Garrison, sex slave.
From South Park?
Yeah, my number 4 also from South Park will probably be PC Principal.
Okay.
Because in the new seasons, they brought him up. He's like, did you just make a microaggression against me, bro?
How about Chef? He's pretty good.
Chef is good, but he's a Scientologist, so he doesn't make the list.
Okay. Who's 3?
He actually quit because of the Scientology episode they did.
Oh,
Because
really?
it offended him, yeah. Number 3, I'd have to go with the combination of Rick and Morty,
Okay.
just because I like those guys. How is this escaping me? Number 2, just because I've been watching it lately, is probably Omni-Man or Invincible from Invincible. It's in the name, but that's a really good adult
I don't know
cartoon
who that
show.
is.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's really
Okay.
good. And then number 1, I guess my favorite cartoon character of all time.
It's not Bart Simpson?
No, I don't like The Simpsons. I don't like Family Guy that much. I guess I'll go with Cartman for number 1.
Eric Cartman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give another honorable mention besides Bugs Bunny. I'll give it to Pepe Le Pew.
That's from Wacky Racers, right?
Well, no. Pepe Le Pew's Warner Brothers, as well as Yosemite Sam and the Tasmanian Devil.
That's good. Tom and Jerry should be an honorable mention.
Now, Speed Racer is pretty good too.
What was that show, Wacky Racers? I always
Wacky
used to
Racers
like.
with Penelope Pitstop
Yep.
and the gang, because Smedley was in there, the dog that goes, Yeah. And Dudley Do-Right was Penelope's boyfriend. He was a Canadian Mountie who always saved her. So those old cartoons. And you got to love the Super Friends. Got to love the Super Friends. I'm not
Super
a
Friends.
big fan of He-Man and G.I. Joe cartoons, but your uncle was.
What about the Legion of Doom?
Well, yeah, they're the arch enemies of the Super Friends.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should sit there next week and go to 10 Super Friends and who their arch enemies are.
Yeah.
You know, like Bizarro is Superman's
A lot of
arch
good
enemy.
cartoons.
And the Joker for Batman.
Yep.
And you got
Lex Luthor and Superman.
Is it Pantera for or the Cheetah? I think the Cheetah for Wonder Woman. You know, I'm not
Spider-Man would be an honorable mention.
Well, he's not in the Super Friends. Yeah,
I know,
but
but
regular
as a
one.
cartoon.
All right. Next section, what we'll end up going into is the book of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I will start with mine. Mine is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Probably 50, 60-year-old book. If you haven't read it, you should have read it, along with Catcher in the
required
Rye
reading.
and of Mice and Men. All three of those are great.
Mm-hmm.
You should have read them in high school. If you didn't read them in high school, if you went to university or college, you should have read them. But To Kill a Mockingbird was great at its time. Talked about racism. And Gregory Peck was absolutely fantastic in the movie. Black and white movie, you should watch it. The movie and the book. Book's an easy read, good read, and makes you go quickly.
And if you're assigned to read it in high school, don't do what I did and spark noted it, because it was actually a good book when I read it.
Yeah, it's worth the read. It's worth the read.
People don't even need spark notes anymore. They just have ChatGPT.
Yeah, you could say ChatGPT.
What happened
give me
in
a
chapter 3 of-
Yeah, give me a 5-page recap of the book, and it'd actually be pretty good.
No wonder kids are so dumb nowadays. They're just using ChatGPT.
Yeah, but the other part is, and I saw somebody on the news bring this up, is that you have to learn to read so you can learn to speak and learn to write.
Sure.
Because if you don't have a foundation, you got a good speaking, good writing, good reading, and you should be okay. So what's your book of the week? We touched on it
Yeah.
earlier without calling the name out.
We alluded to it earlier. I'm not overzealous about it. I don't even think I've read it in its entirety. But just because it's pertinent to what's going on nowadays, my book of the week is Art of the Deal by Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, I think if people just read the book, they'll understand where he's coming from. Yeah, when you start a negotiation, you always posture up, and then you figure out where you want to fall back to or what you want to trick or make them chase something else, and then you'll get something. So the guy's a masterful negotiator, one of probably the best that the world's seen for a very long time, and he's got a great team around him. A great team around him. That's the number one thing I'll
Who's
give
the
President
press
Trump.
secretary? What's her name again?
Kayleigh McEnany?
No, that's the old one. The one that's like married to a 50-year-old.
Yeah, no. She's sharp.
She, someone from the Associated Press.
No, it is Kayleigh McEnany.
No, that was the old administration. Kayleigh McEnany's on Fox now. She's on that Outnumbered show with the other women.
Oh, okay.
But it's not Pam Bondi.
No, she's the Attorney General.
Yeah. Anyways, someone from the Associated Press asked the press secretary.
Stupid question, yeah.
Have you ever experienced a tariff? Because I've known what it feels like to have a tariff. She goes, and now I regret asking the Associated Press a question.
Yeah, but what she started is don't propose to tell me about economics nor question what President Trump is doing. But she was pretty good when she says, now you made me regret asking an Associated Press question. But that's it. You can ask a question, but that's the difference, right? You can ask a question about tariffs and implications, but you don't have to say, well, I've done it. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Who cares what you've done? Nobody cares. But, that's how goofy these people are. All right, movie of the week, I'll let you go with the first one. I love this one. Your movie of the week, I've probably seen 10 times. My movie of the week, I've probably seen 25 times.
I watch it every St. Patrick's Day since St. Patrick's Day is Monday. I'll probably watch it then.
We'll watch it tomorrow after we have corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah, that's a good point. My movie of the week is The Boondock Saints.
You're the funny guy.
Yeah. And then William Dafoe with his gay autism solving all the crimes.
Yeah, they got great character development in there. So if you guys want an action movie with a buddy movie with some suspense and a good story, and you want to laugh, that scene when with the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible. But it was funny.
Another funny scene too was when he was in bed with that Asian guy who kept trying to cuddle him, talking on the phone, and he kept slapping his hand.
Slapping him.
And then when he hangs up, the guy goes, "What? I just want to cuddle." William Dafoe, who's portraying a homosexual character, says "fag" and just walks away.
It's a funny scene, like the one when they fall out of the ceiling and they spin around with the guns.
Yeah.
So William Dafoe is excellent in that movie. That guy is an underrated actor that people don't give him credit for.
He's great in his portrayal of the Green Goblin too.
Yep. And he was really good. I think the first thing he came out with, you haven't watched this one, but there's a good Wang Chung song, "Live and Die in L.A." It comes from the movie. The guy Peterson or whatever his name, the main character in the original CSI when they were in Vegas, he was in it. Is called "To Live and Die in L.A." and William Dafoe plays a counterfeiter, so it's actually pretty good. My movie of the week is The Sting. We had him up there before on Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, but that's Robert Redford and Paul Newman. They're a bunch of grifters. Paul Newman's the seasoned grifter. Robert Redford's the younger one whose buddy gets murdered by Doyle Lonigan, and then they run a con on him. So it's a great movie, and if you like jazz, I think I might have said it before, but I don't care. It's good enough to do it twice. Okay, our book of the week.
No, bitch of the week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
How do you not even know your own acronym?
Yeah, Jesus, because we just said the book. I will go first.
Okay.
My bitch of the week. Sorry to say it, but when you signal, you get it. So my bitch of the week is Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. He posted a video. Was it 2 days ago? With him standing in front of his Tesla in D.C. and goes, "Well, unfortunately, this is the last day I ever drive this to work. I can't have it anymore, and I got to sell it." Look, if you bought it for all the green benefits
You
of
already
it,
spent the
and
money.
you already spent the money, there is nothing more than just virtue signaling.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of nonsense that the left is doing. And aside from that fringe side of the 10, 15, 20, 25% of the goofballs, the rest of the American public think you're a buffoon.
They don't really care.
They don't. First off, they don't care. But then they know you're virtue signaling, which is an insult to their intelligence.
And these people who won't virtue signal enough to sell it, but still want to make a point and have these bumper stickers on their Teslas that say, "I bought this before I knew he was a Nazi."
Yeah, well,
and you're still driving his car. He still took your money.
If I was Elon, I'd sue him for defamation for
Yeah.
that. But that's a whole different deal. And yours is?
Mine is George Soros on at risk of being suicided. George Soros, you're my bitch of the week for through your foundation, you fund all of these pro-Hamas, anti-Israeli protests.
Well, and anti-government protests, far-left protests. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. They found, and by the way, and this is one of the funny things, Doge has found that we, the American taxpayers, through our taxes, through the government, put that stuff back to those NGOs, which then comes back and it's detrimental to us. So, you know, as Elon Musk said, he's an expert in arbitrage, but he's figured it out. We're too stupid that we actually keep giving money to somebody to shoot us with nonsense. So
yeah, we provide the bullet.
Right. All right. One last thing before we close it up. This is, if you're a sports fan, I think one of the unique moments. You know, if you like watching Premier League or the NFL or NHL or golf or whatever it is, there's a period of time after the Super Bowl and before everything starts and before baseball starts. So right now we have the Masters coming up April 10th through 13th.
The Players Championship is this week.
The Players Championship's this week. You have the draft coming up April 24th through 26th for the NFL. March Madness starts in a week or two.
F1 season kicks off tonight.
F1 season kicks off. And then you got the NBA and the NHL playoffs coming. And then you got spring training coming. So this is the time.
Oh, and don't forget to mention the World Tetris Championship.
Yeah, we talked about that the other. Those kids were quick. I can't believe how fast they were moving on levels 26, 27, 28, and 29.
It's ridiculous.
I couldn't even watch the screen on the next piece.
Yeah.
And these guys are moving.
They're going way too fast for me.
Yeah, so they got skills, but just imagine how many hours of wasted time that they spent doing that.
What do you mean wasted time? They make money.
They were like 13 or 14.
They still set up accounts on Twitch and get donations.
Yeah, I believe you, but I think at that age you need to have interaction with other people because you got to develop your social skills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up as a 28-year-old sitting in your mom's basement like Dwight Goodman at the end of Dodgeball.
Fucking Chuck Norris.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great movie. We talked about it before. You got to watch Dodgeball.
Did you say Dwight Goodman? It's White Goodman.
It's Dwight Goodman.
WHIT.
What?
E.
Yeah. What was it? What was his?
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
What was his buddy's name that was driving him on that
Michelle.
moped?
Michelle.
That's
Mike
a great
Consigliere.
scene. Mike Consigliere. And he jumps on the back of a little moped and they drive away. Yeah. If you guys want to chuckle, watch Dodgeball. So we'll leave it at that. I think this is a great time of the year for sports, and it's all the stuff that's getting ready to happen to support the real sport, which is NFL and college football. They're number one.
All right. Well,
so with that, we'll wrap up episode 13, March 15th. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
take care.
All right. Hey, this shit's good, man.
Disclaimer for Generations Unplugged with Big Kel and Kahuna. This is a podcast created for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed in this podcast reflect the personal experiences and opinions of the hosts and guests. Topics like health, fitness, financial well-being, and personal development are discussed based on individual perspectives and are not intended as professional medical, financial, or psychological advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with qualified professionals before making decisions related to health, lifestyle, or finances. Each person's journey is unique, and results may vary. The creators of Generations Unplugged disclaim any liability for actions taken based on the content of this podcast. Remember, informed decisions and expert guidance are key to building a fulfilling and balanced life.